Hi, everybody. I'm Sunny, and this is We Gotta Talk, a live weekly digital talk show and podcast where we like to dig deep. Real talk, big topics. Now, let's dig in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of We Gotta Talk. I'm so glad you're here. We love a good deep dive on this show. And I think what we've tried to maintain is we've done, nearly 200 episodes now, or just over 200 episodes, is a place where you can come to talk about, or not talk, but hear about issues that are always in the news, but you want to know more about them. You might have a strong feeling one way or the other. But the goal here is to bring some nuance to discussions that maybe we feel like we already are so sure of, but maybe not. Today's guest was a huge hit last time he was on, and I'm really honored he's coming back. The Conscious Lee is a social media star, first and foremost, with over 2 million followers on TikTok, over 273,000 on Instagram. He holds a bachelor's degree in African American Studies and a master's degree in Human Relations, as well as a master's in adult higher education. He is a professor. He is the author of an online course and most recently crowned a content winner by YouTube, a creator of the year. We are so excited to welcome back the Conscious Lee onto We Gotta Talk for Chapter 2. Lee, thanks so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
We did an informal poll. We talked to some people on social media yesterday. As of the time of recording, the artist formerly known as Kanye West, currently known as Ye, is dominating headlines. Adidas just dropped him, among other big sponsors and corporate partners, including Bank of America, Balenciaga, etc. I want to know what you're hearing from your followers and on discussions you've been having on social media, where you stand on Ye and the world's response to his anti-Semitic comments.
Man, I don't even know where I would start. I would start by saying that anytime you start repeating some Nazi speaking points about, you feel me, anything and anybody is probably bad. Being a conscious, unapologetic Black person, I recognize that white supremacy has many enemies, and I recognize that the way that anti-Blackness is set up, that many people are implicated within anti-Blackness. But just in recognizing anti-Blackness is bad, anti-Semitism is also bad. And I just think that the way that the world right now is, especially on the sides of social media that I'm on, I think that the divide and conquer type of mentality is very fluent right now within the Black community, between the Black and Jewish community. I think that there are a lot of varying perspectives, man, that make it hard for this conversation to be had, whether it's about, saying Kanye West is a billionaire, because he's a billionaire, we should believe everything he say, or he has some beacon of truth, or whether it's, acknowledging, well, Jewish people are anti-Black too. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't justify anti-Semitism. It's like, it's a lot of things,
So, okay, let's dissect this, because we do love a hard conversation. And you know what? We always say this when we chat. This is obviously, we're representing only one voice each in our respective, identities and communities. But I do feel like you're a safe person to really dig in with, because you have this experience really interacting with tons of different types of people on social media, and you don't come across as judgmental or overly. Yeah, or yes, which is a big check. Now, I obviously, I'm not Jewish, and although I think we can all sort of look at that and recognize the evil in that type of speak, and the way it sort of infected other people, emboldened other people to come out with their own hateful comments and rhetoric. I'm thinking of the signs that were held over the 405 in LA. You have been bringing up some interesting points on your social media about how, for lack of a better term, the non-Black and non-Jewish community, whoever that may be, responds to this type of provocation. So we've had incidents before where the Black community has been the target of hate or disrespect, and you see a certain reaction. And now we're having an issue where we're seeing the Jewish community being the target of hate and disrespect, and we're also seeing a certain reaction. From your space where you sit, is there crossover between the people who support the anti-racist movement and those who support the anti-Semitism movement? Is there some are these the same group of people who are speaking up against it?
No, I think that there's a lot of there's a lot of different ideologies and perspectives that are speaking up right now. that when we think about the ways that anti-Semitic, like being an anti-black or anti you know, saying Semitic, makes it where there are a lot of intersections between individuals being able to recognize how anti-blackness as an institution, as policies, as history, how it intersects and interconnects with a lot of the Nazi, anti-Semitic, white supremacist, you know what I'm saying, ideologies and history that's also involved with, you know what I'm saying, these two things. So right now we see that just as we know that, you know, the Nazis didn't like Jewish people, they also didn't like black people. So, you know, from the standpoint of a lot of different individuals in the black community that are conscious of and aware of how anti-Semitism has always already played into like white supremacy, you know what I'm saying? It comes in there. I know for me personally, you feel me? It's like a lot of people thinking about the ways in which Jewish people are in Hollywood. And I think that if you do like the history and dig, you will see that anti-Semitism is the reason why Jews got pushed into Hollywood. You see, we had film and we had that in New York, but anti-Semitism did not allow for Jewish people, for their talent, for their humanity to be recognized because they were seen as being cheap or being thieves or being untrustworthy or being trying to take control. So they literally had to move out west. So a lot of times when we think about the narratives that are being created, is being created without historical context, or it's being created with the historical context of you repeating, you feel me, Jewish media 100 and some times in a 4-hour span. It's like, that sound like them folks that's anti-us, you know what I'm saying? So, you know.
When you say us, like, do you consider any group who's been oppressed in any way? Is there some level of relation you feel, or is there some part of you as an individual who wants to reach out and say, listen, you know, I understand the position you're in, the culture has treated you in a way, maybe not identical to the way that it's treated me. Is there a sense of like, I don't know, I don't want to say unity, that's the wrong word, but
Yeah,
protection, desire to come
solidarity,
up and stand up?
coalition. I use like so I use like the time text of like solidarity, you feel me? Coalition. You know what I'm saying? I think that there are a lot of Jewish people that I'm coalition and solidarity with when it comes to recognizing the ways that our struggles are similar in that they're different. You know what I'm saying? Does this mean that we can have a conversation about anti-Zionism or about, you know, Palestine? I think that we can have that conversation and have that deep conversation that's very complex. But I think there's a world where I can say I'm not rocking with Zionism and I'm not rocking with anti-Semitism. You feel me? I see both of these things as being a beacon of oppression that I don't want to be no part of. You feel me? And being able to have those very nuanced, you know what I'm saying, conversations about oppression and about humanity and about being able to have respect for people. So for me, in a conversation about anti-Semitism, I'm always already thinking of the history of the long history of the ways in which Jewish people throughout the Jewish diaspora. I think that's a lot of conversation you kind of get lost in, right? A lot
Mhm.
of people, especially I think that in non-Jewish communities, when you say Jew, you think of white Ashkenazi Jews, and you're literally erasing all the other people within the Jewish diaspora. You know what I'm saying? And you still buying into some anti-Semitic speaking points, even when talking about the Ashkenazi Jews. But I still think there's an erasure that happens. So when we start talking about anti-blackness, the obvious, you feel me, intersection of this is there are black Jews. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying?
Well,
There
that's
are
kind of what
Ethiopian
Kanye
Jews.
tried to say too,
I'm
and
not
you
talking
know,
about that. I'm not
no, I
talking
know you're not. I know you're not saying
I'm
that.
talking about individuals that are, you feel me, like Ethiopian Jews. Talking about individuals or
Right.
groups that are born and bred within the Jewish customs and traditions and understanding, you feel me, that this is their identity. I'm not talking about people, you feel me, that just, you know, came across a dope video on YouTube and now they're declaring that they are Hebrew Israelite. No disrespect to all of them, but there are individuals that make claims based off of a snapshot video they seen or a snapshot conversation they had, they're able to repeat, and it makes it where you come off how Kanye comes off, as
Yeah.
if you're trying to create a identity authenticity test, authenticity test for identity by saying them the fake ones over there, we the real ones over here. That is not the same thing. And when I say the Jewish diaspora, I'm recognizing that there is a multiplicity of race and nationality amongst Jewish people. You see what I'm
Right.
saying? I'm recognizing that there are Arab Jewish people, there are Black Jewish people, there are white Jewish people, there's Jewish people in Ethiopia, there's Jewish people in Palestine. Now, I'm acknowledging that there are a multiplicity within these things. I'm also acknowledging there are literal like Black Jews, you feel me? Not just in like the Ethiopian context, or not just in the Hebrew Israelite context, but literally like across within the African diaspora. You know what I'm saying? So
Mhm.
just like really thinking about what that means to have a conversation about humanity.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I'm sure you encounter this too. Social media and the publicly presenting of ourselves, or the public presentation of ourselves that all of us do, whether by virtue of our jobs or by choice, really forces us to compress our identities. And people might look at you and just say, oh, well, he's black. Or people might just look at me and say, oh, well, she's white. What it makes it hard to have these conversations too, because when you think you're looking at someone, there's no way we can take in someone's entire identity, even with an hour-long conversation, right? There's nuance to our experiences, to how we were raised, to our
Yeah.
culture identity versus our skin color. I mean, all of these things. Like, what is a good way for people who really want to show up as conversationalists in this space, not just people, and we talked about this last time, who want a virtue signal? Because while I appreciate an intention, I think there are a lot of people who actually want to understand and do the work, and not just, for example, post the black square or post the quote relating to yay. So how do people show up and present? Like, you're a social media person, you won an award with YouTube, you obviously do a good job of understanding and expressing nuance. So for people who want to show up to the table and have these conversations, like, what's a good entry point to be like, okay, I'm here, I support you, I support the things that your community stands for, but I kind of want to know more, and I kind of want to understand why you feel this way. Like, how do we show up like that?
I think in two ways. Trying to have meaningful relationships and conversations with people outside of this identity that you want to learn about, and also being able to take your own time to invest in teaching yourself and educating yourself about that particular identity. So for me, shameless plug, I have an online class about identity politics that if individuals want to learn more about the history or the language of race, class, gender, ability, sexuality, I created an online course for individuals to be able to actually dive into a lecture, actually have some supplemental readings, actually have a self-assessment for you to really try to be able to say what you mean and mean what you say and have meaningful things to contribute into conversations about racism, sexism, ableism, things like that.
What's one thing you do personally to expose yourself to opposing points of view and to come from a place of growth, or come, like, what do you do if you say you're logging onto someone's, I don't know, account, or you're going to a news source that's known to lean in one direction or the other? Do you purposely sort of trigger yourself and make yourself take in that content? I this is
Definitely.
my exercise. I'm a Libra though, and I love a little provocation in that way. But what do you do, because your job is literally to help facilitate these conversations? So do you find yourself exposing yourself to these other points of view so that you can understand them, so that you can counteract them? Like, what's your routine?
My routine, I think I'm always been a people person. I love people. I love talking to people. I love talking to different type of people, maybe identity or ideology. So because I feel like I've always been grounded and trying to be connected with so many people, I get the benefit of always already hearing a whole bunch of different perspectives. And I've never really been the type of person on social media to be like, because you said something I disagree with, I'm gonna block you, or because I think you're a dumbass, I'm gonna block you, or because you're being unethical or oppressive, I'm gonna block you. I'm usually the person that try to sit around and maybe I'll just watch this time, but this time I might debate you or try to say something to you or something like that. But I think that that's the way that I do it. But also too, I might get bored and just watch some Fox News. You feel me? I don't. That is the only conservative thing that I probably will consume where I'm consciously consuming. I don't go to Candace Owens' page or
Right.
TikTok or Twitter to watch what she's posting or watch what she's saying. I don't do that. You feel me? You feel me? And the rest of the conservatives, you know what I'm saying? I don't go to Tucker Carlson's page to see what he's doing and what he got going on. Like I don't involve in it. But I will watch Fox News. You know what I'm saying? I'm from a small town in Bryan, Texas. I went to school in, you know what I'm saying, born and raised in Bryan, Texas. So you feel me? A lot of Republicans and Democrats and moderates and trans and people from, you feel me, affluent backgrounds, people from the trailer park, from the hood, from the reservation. Like because I'm from Oklahoma and Texas. I feel like now I'm from both of these areas now. I get to have that benefit of being around all these different things, and I don't agree with everybody.
Right. And what do you feel when you expose yourself to those points of view that maybe aren't necessarily held by you? Like, what do you feel when you watch Fox News?
I feel a multiplicity. I feel a lot of shit. I feel a lot of things. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes it's very humorous. You know. Sometimes it is intriguing. Sometimes it pissed me off and annoyed me. sometimes, I slap my leg like, man, that was dumbly clever. That was clever in a dumb way. You know what I'm saying? And sometimes, I like to just soak up the information. I think that what's important is that to say is that I was born and raised in Bryan, Texas. So a lot of conservatism and a lot of things that is pushed in like right media was my norm and my default, even as a black person. So I grew up seeing Fox News as a credible news source. I didn't learn Fox News was an uncredible news source, if I'm being honest with you, really until I was in college. You know what I'm saying?
So are your
It
parents
wasn't like,
conservative, or like who was watching it? And is your family conservative?
yeah, I mean, I would say, yeah, we got some conservatives, you know what I'm saying, our family, but I think that growing up down the South, I feel like in Bryan, how I grew up, really usually seeing shit in terms of black and white. So unless conservatism or Fox News is talking something black and white in terms of race, it was like, but they want to talk about, what I'm saying, some Islamophobic jihad or Al Qaeda, what I'm saying? I ain't know about that. You feel what I mean? So in most instances, when I think about conservatism, how I understand it now, I would argue that a lot of us black conservatives a lot of us black Southerners have different conservative sentiments, or have had different conservative sentiments that we've had to work through. But speaking for myself now, this for me, my worldview was indoctrinated, bred, watered, what I'm saying, shit, giving nutrients in a conservative dominated, like George Bush library is in where I'm from. George Bush dad, his library where I'm from. Texas A&M is what
Right.
George Herbert Bush, not George W. Like that's what, I'm saying. So it's just like that's where I'm born and raised there. You feel me?
Why are people so shocked then when they see a black conservative? Like, I think I speak for
For
like
the
the
media,
trend that we've seen on
because of
social
the
media.
media,
There's still some dissonance there. Why?
because the media in a lot of different instances tries to make things a lot polarizing, because from a content standpoint, when you're trying to create something, it's all about being able to grab people's attention. And I think that the media showed a lot of content creators from the very jump what it means to manufacture controversy and what it means to get people to like buy into shit. You see what I'm saying?
Right, right. I mean, I'm thinking too of how people treat Candace Owens, and it's
Yeah.
I'm a little hesitant to even bring up her name because she's polarizing, and for understandable reasons. But I mean, what is it like as a member of the Black community to hear Candace Owens speak and purport to speak on behalf of a large number of Black Americans that she says she represents with her viewpoints? I mean, like, and again, not asking you to speak for the whole group of people, but in you personally,
Hey,
do you?
from my
Yeah.
perspective, there's always been a particular position within the black community that represents or embodies what Candace Owens does. You know what I'm saying? I have a degree in African American studies. I have a master's degree in human relations. So when we think about the history of black people, there have always been individuals that have wanted to run away from the plantation. There's always been individuals that wanted to run the plantation. There's always been individuals that wanted to, integrate. There's always been a dissonance or a multiplicity within how black people think. And when it comes to the resistance of the collective of black people, you've always had individuals that are positioned to kind of push at that resistance. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? In a
Hmm.
system of white supremacy or a system of colonialism, you will always be rewarded whenever you go back and try to buy into the modes, values, you know what I'm saying, of the slave master or of the colonizer. So in a system of America, when you buy into white supremacist values of black people, you're able to create, you feel me, a mode for you. You know what I'm saying? If you go back and watch any film about slavery, there's always been that position. Even if you go back to thinking about histories before slavery and thinking about just, you feel me, the West Africans, East Africans living amongst ourselves, you feel me, and not being worried about, you know what I'm saying, shit like that. It's always been individuals that was willing to, you know, at the collective expense, come to that individual, you know what I'm saying, gain and line their pockets. That's just
Yeah, I mean, are you a firm free speech, activist and believer where you think that, and I'm not conflating her with this question at all, but just people in general who have expressed, and this I guess goes back to the Ye discussion too, to a lesser extent, although I think his
yeah.
firmly
Listen, man,
fall under
freedom of
like
speech don't mean
what's the
freedom.
border of
Yeah,
what's
to
okay and not?
me, freedom of speech don't mean freedom of consequence. You have the freedom
Mm,
of speech, but you got to also, you can be recognized whenever you say something, everything got a consequence. So it's because you're free to say things, it doesn't mean the way those things impact the reality or people's psyche, mean that they're like you were free to say it, that mean you have to be free in how you react. Like hell no. So for me, it's all about the violence, it's about the ethics, it's about the morals. If you say something using your freedom of speech, does it encroach on somebody else's unalienable rights? You feel me? If you say a disparaging thing about a group, no matter how real you think this is, no matter how criticizing you think this, you know what I'm saying, how critical and this, that, and the other do can we say this leads to violence for this group? If there a history of this leads to violence for this group. I cannot go into a public building and yell fire. The law says that I cannot go into a public building and yell fire because it incites chaos, it incites violence. So even the law recognizes there is a line when it comes to freedom of speech, and that's really how I say it. And I'm sorry, I feel like I got a lot of energy right now. I don't know where it's coming from, but I feel like I cut you off twice. I apologize. But
Oh,
yeah.
you're fine. You're fine. Listen, there's a lot of interaction. There's no issues here. I promised people who were tuning in today that we would dive into wokeism as a theory, as a thought, as principle, whatever you want to call it. We're using that as a frame of reference, or as the word we're going to use to refer to that philosophy and theory today.
Wokeism. Ugh.
Well, kind of,
I get it
yeah,
though. I
the
get it.
ism. So I want you to tell me, what is it? What purpose does it serve? And why do people have such a visceral reaction to that word?
I'm gonna start with this. The people have a visceral reaction to the word woke because you recognize in some way, shape, form, or fashion, people are calling into question what you've been inbred, what you've been bred to believe in. Values, structures, systems, institutions, practices, policies, procedures. You know that when somebody is being accused of being woke, they're calling into question a norm that you believe should not be questioned or should not be debated. What I can see is that when you think about the word woke, it goes all the way back to like Marcus Garvey, 1920s, like literally wake up Africa, wake up this, that, and the other. So it comes from like an idea of people are being sleep. You feel me? That, you know what I'm saying? Like we want you sleep because when you sleep, you're easily persuaded. You're easily, you know what I'm saying, trained. You're easily told to do something. So when it's like the idea of wake up, you know what I'm saying? Even like a Spike Lee film has a point where wake up. It's like literally telling, it's a call to be aware, to be conscious, to be, you feel me, understanding about what's going on around you and to being able to recognize it. Or almost thinking about it like this. I know they say the quote is fake, but I still think that the alleged quote has power. It said that Harriet Tubman, when asked what she wish she could have did, you feel me, with that and the other, what she like, she has any regrets, and she said something like it was alleged that she said that had she wished she said she would have been able to save more slaves or help more slaves. It's like people kind of you know what I'm saying, run away if she could have convinced them they were a slave. So waking up is being able to see that the what you live around, like what you live around, you feel me, how you living is what it is. So really think about it. I was born and raised sleep in many different instances. You know what I'm saying? I was going to high school extemporaneous competitions, and my black ass was repeating Fox News as being a credible source. When I was in high school, I did international extemp and I did domestic extemp. And this in extemp, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to all my speech people. Literally, they would give you 30 minutes and give you a little question. You feel me? I learned how to bullshit at a very young age. You know what I'm saying? So I would literally be able to make up and pull some shit out of my ass. I remember the first time I was asked. I remember one of the questions I remember the most from extemporaneous was asking is gas prices inflation or price gouging? That's when this is like '08. You know what I'm saying? '07. You feel me? But I remember trying to make up something about Fox News to answer the question. My point is, I was asleep. I didn't know that Fox News was anti-black. I didn't know that I was listening to white supremacists. I didn't know. I really did not know. I was asleep. You feel what I'm saying? So for me to get to the other part, the first question that you asked in terms of like what it has become now is I would argue that in a system of white supremacy, all white people are conditioned. And I would say all white people are conditioned. The question is, will you buy into the condition or not? But all white people are conditioned to trivialize how black empowerment happens. I would argue what I understand about American history, that anytime we see black progression, it is always met by white backlash. The word woke was about black progression and black people becoming politically, socially, economically more aware of what's going on around us. May it be the policy making system or it be the, you know what I'm saying, the economy. It's been us being more understanding of what's going on. And once white America got hip to it, and it wasn't something that was going to be able to be co-opted as something good that they can monetize, and they seen it was something that was calling into question how we monetize Black culture, that's when it became bad. Because we're calling into question all your shit, all your power. You feel me? You say America, not you, but like America says this is the greatest country, and I bet not try to, you know what I'm saying, criticize America because you at least you're not over there in Africa with flies around your stomach. I became woke and have a more international understanding of the African diaspora and African people. And I know that I no longer only see myself and my people through the lens of white supremacy. I can now see my people for myself. You see what I'm saying? And now it's become a whole bunch of shit. But yeah.
No. This is I really want to dive into American
Like it's deeper
exceptionalism
than what
too.
white folks saying it is. Now it's become some now also too it's been lumped into the surface level American cultural wars that's seen as some left shit. If you're being real, people that really define themselves as being woke, like myself, we critical of the left and leftists too. So it really, for me, it shows. As a matter of fact, I would argue that people that really that's really on some woke shit, they have better critiques and criticisms of the left and liberalism that conservatives could ever dream of. You see what I'm saying? Because I'm woke enough to recognize it. When I say police brutality, these white conservatives believe that is a white liberal speaking point. No. George Floyd was killed in the democratic liberal state, democratic liberal city. Listen, I'm talking about the ways in which the entire system, the left and the right, those are two different sides of the system. Woke is about having structure. I would argue, from my perspective, when I say I'm woke, I'm talking about a structural analysis that talks about how the left and the right are implicated in the school to prison pipeline, the war on drugs, gerrymandering, redlining, like you name it. You see what I'm saying? I don't have no time to be playing these bipartisanship games when it comes to the political, social, economic independence of Black people. Because also I'll argue, a lot of times these conversations, it show you that people not really woke like that because you only view the experience of Black people through the lens of left versus the right. What I know is that niggas living in the East Coast and the West Coast and down south, we got Democratic mayors, we got Republican mayors, we got Democratic governors, we got Republican governors. You show me a state that ain't got a high level of Black people being incarcerated, and I show you, you know what I'm saying, a goddamn unicorn. You show me a state that ain't implicated within the mass incarceration of the. You see what I'm saying? This is about being woke right here. It's about recognizing the way that the system is created, regardless of Republican or Democratic. There is an investment. You feel me? Into debilitating the Black community. That's what I would argue. You know.
That clarifies a lot of things for me, and it also further complicates it in my mind because when
Yeah,
people have the
it's
easy
too.
access point, right, to blame the other side, you're taking away our ability to say, well, sorry, that's a Republican problem, or sorry, that's a Democrat problem.
Yeah. That's
From
my
this
big.
perspective, yeah. So let's be solutions oriented, recognizing, and I think you're totally right, that we need to acknowledge the Black community as beyond this binary of, are you Republican or are you Democrat? No, I agree. That tool of analysis needs to go by the wayside because, frankly, so few people want to identify with either party anyway these days.
Exactly.
That's a separate conversation. So, what's the
It's
solution
really
there?
not. That's the conversation, though. That's the conversation is a lot of Black people in the Black community already disavowed and distanced themselves from the entire policymaking system writ large under the guise of saying you people are anti-me. And when I say you people, I'm talking about the system, the institution. I'm not talking about all
So,
white.
what's the solution? Like, what is one way? Is it more involvement of Black leaders in the political system? Is it the creation of a new party? Is it addressing each of those issues that you brought up individually? You know, the school to prison pipeline, as you said,
Oh, yeah.
gerrymandering. Like, what is, because we want to be solutions oriented here, and I want your thoughts as someone who's recognizing that this problem isn't as simple as we have been taught that it is.
Yeah.
Like, where do you even start with an issue this big?
I would start with some of the first people that was woke that taught me that taught me about what's quote unquote wokeism. Marcus Garvey in the 1920s. The solution that he has is for Black people to be able to build for ourselves. So we see that it's not that we don't build for ourselves. So there's a history of us not being able to build for ourselves. It's us being woke to recognize when we talk about the Black Wall Streets of the world. The solution is to see, hey, define the phenomenon, make it act in a desired manner. So it's being able to figure out the tools to build, but also recognizing the ways in which we've been not been able to build, or the ways we've been deconstructed. That's how I see it. You see what I'm saying?
I'm wondering too your thoughts on, we've been through what a lot of people are calling a racial reckoning, starting with George Floyd's death, but obviously have gone through periods of
Ain't the first time either.
waking up. And you're right, the civil rights movement was one, the
Yeah,
abolishment of slavery. We go through these waves as societies, right, where the things the inconvenient truths that I think you speak to quite frequently, very eloquently, surface, and they crest and they show us the ugliness underneath the system. My question is, will it ever not be an issue? Will it ever be not be a black and white? Will it ever be not a white supremacy issue, or an issue where it just boils down to race? Or do you believe that the root of all of these issues does in fact lie in the issue or the big problem of white supremacy?
yeah. I think that yes, there is a potential possibility for us to get past white supremacy or race or the white black binary. The question is, what are we willing to give up to get past it? And that's when I answer the question by saying, like, I don't think we can get past it within the way that the world is structured. And that's the reason why we start to have to think about this world through a more structural analysis, and not just through one about some bipartisan type shit. You see what I'm saying? Because
Right.
now thinking about all of the things we've been taught to value America or the Western world through, how a lot of those things at the core are colonial that creates indigenous erasures. How a lot of those things at the core are heteronormative that causes rhetorical violence and literal violence for, what I'm saying, trans and gender fluid and intersex people. So it's really being able to, for me, when I think of white supremacy, I'm thinking about how race, class, gender, ability, sexuality are all infused through a particular Anglo-Saxon idea that says that if you don't conform to these ways of race, class, ability, sexuality, and gender, then you are not a human. And I would argue that the way that we see how America gets to go invade foreign countries, it is usually through the guise of being able to convince Democrats and Republicans that American democracy, American hegemony, American, you feel me, invading this country is the best thing that can happen for this country. Whether we want oil to get mad, weapons of mass destruction, stop Saddam Hussein, get Osama bin Laden, lay down democracy, goddamn help some women over here, even though you don't care about the women over here. Like, I think that a lot of literal into I'm being real with you. What I'm talking right now, this is what conservatives are scared of. What I'm talking about right now, calling into question the entirety of America, this is what conservatives are scared of. Republicans are trying to make sure we can't teach in the classrooms. Because when we say America is on stolen land, that is a fact. You see what I'm saying? So whether you are a good liberal or a bad Republican, or a good Republican or a bad liberal, you have to recognize that your existence of being here, it had to make it where those people are exterminated and those people had to build it up. There is no way for us to have a la 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 type of shit without acknowledging that violence, literal violence, like without the violence, you're not here. I'm not here. Nobody's here. And that's the part that I feel like the cognitive dissonance that a lot of people that say they want real history, that say they love the truth, they say they love education, that's really not about their business like that. You see what I'm saying? Because now we have to think about, like, where I'm at right now, I think it's Comanche land. I think, you know what I'm saying, the part of Texas I'm in, you feel me? Ain't no Comanches right in the city I'm in right now around here. You see what I'm saying? Comanches have to be exterminated, you know what I mean, to literally have this city, the beautiful city that I'm in right now. You feel me? And it's like,
Yeah,
about
and I respect that. And I was recently in a place and they did a land acknowledgement, and it was a simultaneous 50-50 split of people appreciate it and people rolling their eyes, right? There's going to be people who ask, and I'm devil's advocating here big time. Um Without erasing history, still acknowledging that we do need to teach the brutality of the past, the violence of the past. And I think you can make the argument that many lands have been conquered before in a violent, brutal way, even maybe not as recently as America. I think we're the newbie kind of to this type of colonialism in world history. At what point, though, is it we can acknowledge that, respect those communities, honor them in ways that they, desire to be honored, but not live in the specter of the past, not live in the specter, and begin to move together and find those similarities. We always talk about finding similarities on the show because I can look for a lot of differences and I could probably find more differences than me and my neighbor than I can find similarities. But at what point do we say, okay, we honor the violence of the past, we apologize, we acknowledge, and we teach it? But when do we move on?
When people start giving up shit.
What
It's
though?
literally what it is like. To me, it's
Give
like
up what?
so to me, it's like think about it like this. Think about it like this. When Prince Harry and his wife is about to go to Jamaica, and the Jamaicans like, we don't give a damn about you acknowledging this, that, and the other, this, that, and the other. You coming here with our shit. The reason why I don't have shit is because you have shit. So you can be nice and acknowledge everything that's going on, but what does that do materially? You see what I'm saying? I think that that is the thing that I feel like a lot of Republicans are smart enough to recognize what a lot of woke warriors are already getting at. Ain't no world where you're gonna acknowledge that person A stole from person B and gave it to person C, and you feel like we can acknowledge it, but you ain't got to, you know what I'm saying? That's the point. That's what we start getting at. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
It's
So are
about
you like a reparation style?
operation style, but also thinking about access, opportunity, and resources, and thinking about in a system of capitalism, those opportunity, resource, and access is already quantified. It's not infinite. So we already recognize in many different instances, some people feel like, hey, if you get access to this, they don't get access to it. If you get to drink 5 gallons of water, that's 5 gallons of water they can't drink. So it's really thinking about the way that we have structured the Western world, the global North versus the global South. It is structured on blood. Us acknowledging that, we gotta go past acknowledging. You see what I'm saying? What do we do? If I shoot you and I acknowledge that I shot you, what does that do? Nothing. I have to now try to go and repair what I've done to you. Now the debate comes, what do I do?
Right.
Now I would argue that we need to have the experts now come in and do this, but I think that is the cognitive dissonance that Republicans have done gratefully. When I think about the ways in which Republicans uniquely are involved, making it where we don't get to teach the youth about the ways in which these systems are codified and fucking you up. So now we don't even get to know. They want them to be my real name is George, right? They want little Georges that don't know about how polarizing the world is. You see what I'm saying? I'm from Texas. Listen, I'm from Texas. Last thing I say this little rant. When I'm being taught about Texas history, I'm being taught that General Santa Anna of Mexico was a brown dictator that was trying to stop the white people from being free. When I go back and relearn about Texas history, General Santa Anna was actually trying to stop the spread of slavery into Texas because the Mexican government was against it. So when we talk about being woke or talk about, like how do we get past it, it's thinking about it. When they talk about Mexicans taking over, you feel me, Texas, we're talking about indigenous people that were conquered. You see what I'm saying? And getting there. And then for me, it's thinking about this also as well. There is something unique about white supremacist colonialism compared to any other type of colonialism that we can think about. That I would argue there is something unique about white supremacist enslavement or anti-black enslavement that's a lot different from the rest of the world. When the Highlanders and the Lowlanders of Scotland is fighting each other, we all don't buy into the perspective of lowlanders based off the Highlanders. You see what I'm saying? When the Anglo-Saxons and the William the Conquerors coming in, the entire world don't buy into one of the perspectives. The entire world bought into black people being not having the culture, not having land. Sorry.
Stand by, guys. 1 second. All right, guys, I'm going to remove just for a second. If you're watching the live feed, we're just going to remove his screen just for a second to give him some privacy to wrap up that. Just a quick reminder, if you're watching live, we love your questions. I see we had some comments and some commentary pop up. Fiona's here, Rachel's here. We love your input and live questions. So if there's something you want to ask or a topic that you want to hit on that we haven't yet, please feel free to do so. We've got about 10 more minutes of the live show left, so we are happy to to accommodate any questions or issues that you want to hear about. We're going to pop up his screen one more time. Producer Rachel, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. All right. I hope everything's okay. We're going to.
My bad, y'all. I know we lied too, but listen, I'm
Are you okay? We're nervous.
I know we good. My wife is sick with the flu, and we just got something ordered here, and I'm trying to make sure she don't have to do much, and I do it.
Oh,
So you know what I'm
that's
saying.
sweet.
So right now I'm just looking for a pen real fast. They about to cut on this thing we just ordered, make sure it's working, and then we good. But I'm definitely I definitely have not forgotten my train of thought though. So I feel like I might have to go live on my own channel type shit to really think about this. I really feel like it's very important. Very important. But let me look at this. But
Yeah,
what
you
saying?
finish that. I've got a couple more questions. We have like 10 or so, 10, 12 minutes left on the show. So we'll let you finish up
Okay, real
and we'll
fast.
get back to it. You got it. No worries. And sorry, guys, apologies if you're listening or watching the nasty sinus infection or allergic reaction. We don't know what it is yet. So apologies for the constant sniffling and sounds in the background while we're talking here. If you're popping in, we're just waiting for Conscious to come back, and got a couple more minutes left of interviewing time, and then we'll wrap. Stand by, everyone.
My time a little bit. You feel me?
Good.
Time up a little bit. But yeah, I'm good.
Your wife, you said she's sick?
Yeah, she's sick. She just tested positive for the flu. And
Oh,
we had ordered a uh some workout thing, you know what I'm saying?
love it. You had to go
And
sign
yeah,
for it.
that's
Love
what I
it.
signed for. And of course, I ain't feel like having a headache, so I got them to put it together. They've been put together, so that is actually calling to make sure I sign out some things and making sure it's put together. You know what I'm saying? But
Task
yeah, man.
Rabbit. That's the service that saves my life. So yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So we were, and we have a few more minutes left. So I really want to round this off. And coming back to we started on the concept of wokeism, and I think we've done a great job in sort of acknowledging it is a term coined and started in the Black community, but these days it's come to include conversations and discussions and heated debates on everything from, feminism to gender rights issues to I just how CRT. I
Anything
mean,
that opposed to the establishment.
anything opposed to the establishment. Now, is there any value ever, though, Conscious, in the establishment? Like, what systems and conventions do you agree are actually a good thing for society writ large?
Hey, governance is good. Governance is good. It's just that the way that we envision government at out west is, what I'm saying, justifies a lot of, what I'm saying, wildness. I can say social order and decorum and morals and ethics are good. You feel what I'm saying? There are traditions. I'm not saying all traditions are bad. You see what I'm saying? I'm just thinking of the ways in which the world is structured now. Not all structures are bad. The way in which the world is structured now, that is the criticism. You feel what I'm saying?
What do you make of the current? Yeah, what do you make of the current discussion? And this is like a kind of a big topic, but we're gonna just dive in for a couple of minutes on the new definition of feminism, the inclusion or non-inclusion of trans women in that, the discussions and debates on changing rooms for young kids and should trans girls be like, do you have children, right?
Yeah, I got children.
Okay. And what are your thoughts on this to begin? And then we're going to do a couple of follow-up questions, because I feel like when we cover the topic of wokeism, gender issues are becoming a huge part of that conversation. So I can't
It
wrap this
should
up
be too,
without
though. It
hitting that.
should be. It should be though. I think that when I think about woke, I think about Kimberly Crenshaw's idea of intersectionality. My kids, my son, my daughter, my 6-year-old daughter, my 4-year-old son, they have to be raised around acknowledging the existence of trans youth. You see what I'm saying? They got to be able to recognize, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, that's how I think about it as a parent.
Yeah, acknowledgement. Where do you stand on the issue of um the debate in schools about whether or not, I'm in Florida, and we know that there's been some legislation put in place that was sort of ironically termed "Don't Say Gay," but technically sort of prevents discussions of sexuality as a whole for certain grades. I don't remember what it is, but let's just say elementary
1
school
minute, somebody
kids.
my door again. Here's my door again. Hold
Oh
on.
no. Okay. We're just going to hang for a second, guys. Sorry about this. I'm going to take this opportunity to put on some more lipstick, though. What do we think about that? Rach, you want to pop on at all? Say hi to the adoring public.
Hello.
How are we doing? How are we doing up there?
To the adoring public. Good. I'm not camera ready today, so you just get the little avatar here. This is like, we talk about this with all of our guests always. Like, we're not that serious. Stuff happens, and kids, dogs, humans, whatever goes on, and this is live. So
It's live TV, people. The benefit is that we don't have to sit here and like tap dance like we did in TV for
no
45 seconds at a time.
My live TV skills like just totally failed when he hopped off. I was like, yeah, I should have pulled him out of the stream. Hello. Like,
Yeah, my bad too, man. I feel like this is the
worry.
this right here
It's
when
so-
you know what I'm saying, when your wife is sick and you're talking
Family.
a lot, you're content creator, and you're moving around and you're trying to do stuff at the house, because like my house still dirty right now. I gotta clean it up.
We family first. We are a family friendly operation here. We only have like 3 minutes left though, but I do want to touch on this, and I mean, we would love to have you back anytime. But I do want to get your thoughts on the all-encompassing umbrella that wokeism has become. And we were just talking specifically about how gender issues have fallen under that umbrella as of late, and it's really sparked a lot of debate and controversy. And we were referencing the legislation in Florida that's come to be known as "Don't Say Gay."
It illustrates a lot of the conservative contradictions in the ways that we say that all lives matter is deployed, or the way that we see that caring about kids is deployed. We know that a lot of LGBTQ youth uniquely are impacted by suicide rates and self-worth and depression and anxiety. So if you care about pro-life, I think that should extend to all kids, at least, you know what I'm saying, and not just like the cisgender straight kids. Also thinking about like all lives matter, and that probably should apply to like all the kids. I feel like there's a criticism when we think about like woke, people being woke, and how woke starts to encompass anything and everything and nothing, and sometimes and nothing. I feel like it's two things. The first thing it creates is a lot of times an erasure both ways, an erasure of how the idea of woke was structured by Black people for Black people in the understanding of Blackness, and now woke is being deployed to talk about generic gender, like not Black feminism, not feminism through the textures of how different women live and are existing and get paid on a dollar, but just like capital W women, you know what I'm saying? And now it's extracted away from the Black community. And we see how those instances literally creates violence like to Black women. Or we see how wokeism is now being deployed when we start talking about the LGBT community. We see how that idea starts to erase Black LGBTQ people, you know what I'm saying? And literally makes it where anything the Black community creates can be appropriated and extrapolated and taken away from us, and make it where somebody else can benefit. It can mean not what we said it mean. It can do all this. It can do all that. And that's how, you know what I'm saying? That's how I feel like that all comes together. And to answer the question, I think that when we talk about like gender progression, you should always account for trans women. You know what I'm saying? And like, you know what I mean? I feel like if I say I care about all men and I'm not accounting for trans men, that means I don't care about all men. You know what I'm saying? That's how I see that shit. You feel me? Like, it's very simple to me. Like feminism, anti-black, all women empowerment and progression as a non-woman, I think should encompass trans women.
Yeah, and I'm hearing you like very graciously explain that, and I have said this before and I'll say it again. I feel like any good culture that we have experienced, like pop culture over the past, I don't know, since I've been alive, it's always come from the Black community. And I can't stand when, even as I'm like, this isn't trying to patronize, this isn't trying to like
Yeah.
be on the right side, but literally, like from music to arts and entertainment to the type of things that are now acceptable and fun and like all the good stuff. I would be really annoyed if I were a Black person, is all I'm saying, is because we
Yeah.
take your shit. I
Yeah,
mean,
we annoyed. We
I,
do be, and we be annoyed, man. We be annoyed.
I get it. I get it. I get it.
From Elvis to
Yes, I was gonna say
Elvis
the
to Troy D'Amelio. Like literally thinking about it. From
well, and
Elvis to Troy D'Amelio and Addison Rae. Thinking about it too. The pathway to hell is paved with good intentions, people. So I'm not trying to say that when white people steal shit from Black people, it is always done with ill intent. I recognize the allure of fantasizing and fetishizing the coolness of Blackness and Black people. I recognize that. I recognize the way that you are lured to dance with death or to dance with danger is a part of the persuasion, and why we're able to extrapolate language, dance moves, food, all this for the Black community, while still saying the Black community is disposable and exposable. It's only good or has value when we say, or when mainstream media says it does. The way
right.
that Black people talk is bad, except for that bling bling word. I think we can incorporate that into pop culture. The
I
way
was
that people dance is bad, except for the way you sway your hips. I think we can do something with that actually. The way you eat is unhealthy, except the way you season the food. So it's just really thinking about the
yeah.
ways in which this community still is. It's a standing reserve to steal shit from.
hmm Yeah, I mean, it's fascinating, really. It is, as a white person. I mean, I was listening to Iggy Azalea the other day and her like black scent, and I'm like, I mean, how does this? I'm looking around the car, like, I mean, I know
But to
she's
be
been on the
fair,
scene
she
for
had
a
us
minute,
all
and
sick.
this isn't like new news. This is not a new point of view, but I'm like, how does this happen?
She had us
How do
all.
people get away? I don't know. It's
To
just
be fair, she had us all. She had us all. To be fair, she had us all tricked and bamboozled. To be fair, I too was tricked by these gazelles.
I was like, I'm really confused.
I thought it was real. I swear, I would have been able to, like, it seemed so authentic, so like, man. And then I go back and it's like, hell, no, no. I'm mad at myself for even thinking it.
Yeah,
I thought I was way more culturally competent than I actually am, I guess.
I know. Well, I mean, I don't know. I think, all of these things give us a great entry point to come into discussion about these really, what we talked about are bigger issues. And I think, I just appreciate you always being willing to show up. And I know these are big discussions that have a lot of moving parts and a lot of nuance, but I'm grateful that you always come in and talk with us and just, kind of keep the conversation going. So, Conscious, thank you so much for spending some time. You're at The Consciously on both TikTok and Instagram. Tell us really quickly where we can connect with you. I know you have an online course, as you mentioned, and a website too. So just quickly let us know where we can find you there.
Yeah, theconsciously.com is my website. I got an online class about identity politics. I have an online class coming at the end of the year about social media and social issues. If you're looking forward to having me, do workshop facilitation, maybe about professional development, or maybe about, diversity and inclusion, conflict management, or civility in the workplace, I'm the man for the job. But I'm gonna keep it real, rap and raw with you, though. You know what I'm saying? It's gonna be very entertaining, very engaging. I promise you, have never had a workshop facilitator and or professor like myself. If you're interested in checking out any of my services or products, theconsciously.com.
Conscious, thank you again so much for spending time with us today.
Yes, thank you for having me again.
And thank you guys for watching and or listening. As always, please tap 5 stars in Apple Podcasts. Leave a rating if possible. That helps to get these podcasts out to people who might find them helpful, entertaining, useful, engaging. And that's it. We'll see you back here next Wednesday with more good stuff on We Gotta Talk. Have a great one. Talk soon.